morning, everyone. Welcome to StudyIQ English. Welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis class with me for 16th February 2026. And how many UPSC relevant articles have we selected from the Hindu paper New Delhi edition today? We have about 8 articles. Looks like too many articles, but nothing to worry. Apart from the editorial and text page, the rest are slightly short and they are a very brief coverage of diverse kind of issues. We are talking about the AI Impact Summit in India, the first of its own kind in a global south country. We are talking about ISRO. We will also talk about another scientific milestone, which is in the field of bio-based chemicals. Apart from that, India-US deal, a critical evaluation of that. We are also looking at India, Middle East. So some kind of traveling is also involved here. And before we look into these articles in detail, here's the QR code. As a growing community, a community which will have many more interesting initiatives upcoming before the prelims and the mains 26, 27. You are highly welcome to join our growing community here. Here's the QR code for those who are struggling to find the channel. And now, with these 8 articles, the first ones are editorial, page number 6, with the very first one talking about India's Indian Scientific Service. What is the article saying and why is it relevant to GS paper 2? Polity and Governance, Indian Administration, Bureaucracy, also GS paper 4. So before I break this article down with all my dear students, let me quickly welcome the ones who have joined us today, including Prasad. After a long time, Prasad says his exams are over. I'm so happy to hear that. You're welcome back. And Prasad, then we have Sumedh, Anup, Aspirant, Shakti, Madhav, Deepak, Terukula is here, Shlok is here, Hika is here, Saurav, Bulbul, and Ashish, then Alex, and Ramu is here. Wow, okay. And who else is there? Madhav, Shinobi is there, Rajnishwar is there, Reshma has joined us, Hika is there. Sanghamitra is also here. So very good morning each one of you. Lots of love and blessings from my side. Sadhna has come and many other code names have come. Munna has come. Good morning, dear. Good morning. God bless you. Let us start breaking down the first article for the day. Editorial article, page number 6. So please, all eyes on the screen and lots of attention from you. What is this article talking about? Main idea of this article is that in India, if you look at administration, if you look at bureaucracy, and if you look at overall governance, then the administration system was originally designed around a group of officers who can be generalist in nature, a group of officers who are jack of all trades but perhaps the master of none. In administration, diverse issues confront public officers, and that's why anybody who has reasoning, logical, problem solving ability and years of training and experience in administration can be trained further and they can be inducted through competitive exams like UPSC exams into bureaucracy. After all they have to do is to basically work upon, I'll just talk about it. After that, all they have to do is to look into administration issues by solving diverse range of problems, social, political, sometimes even economic in nature. Okay, so that was India's governance when India tried to create the civil servants after independence. But today you see things are changing dramatically. Today in 2026, we know that there are newer realities that every country is facing. And all these problems, whether they are related to climate change, whether they are related to high incidence of epidemics, pandemics, whether they are related to agriculture distress, excessive migration, or whether they are related to the problem of global immigration, computing, artificial intelligence, all these things require new kind of expertise. We cannot manage public services with a group of officers who have a generalized training, who are jack of all trades but not specialist into one field. So today the need is to have scientific and technical expertise in governance and bureaucracy. The current system does not allow scientists and researchers to participate in day by day governance. Now, One of my students is asking, why is it related to GS paper 4 ethics? Of course it is, because when you look at GS paper 4, in your syllabus you have a topic on administration, bureaucracy, probity in governance, transparency, honesty, and dedication in public service. Now, all these issues are central to the fact that today we must diversify bureaucracy into including a group of extremely super specialized experts who are not only experts in public health but also experts in AI, digital technology, and newer problems related to machine learning. That's why it becomes an ethical problem as well. Is it ethical to do so, or should we continue with the existing system? Now you understood? Now talking about this issue, article is creating an argument. Article says, let us create a separate Indian scientific service. Now, as UPSC notification had recently come, and all of us were talking about which services are covered under the UPSC exam, including the Group A, Group B services. We were discussing how majority of aspirants are continuing to give a focus on IAS, IFS, IPS. In fact, there is another debate that has broken in UPSC. Should we allow existing selected candidates who are officers now to reappear for the exam just to improve their rank and get the desired service under UPSC? That's another question we are asking today. It is an ethical question as well. Should we allow multiple reattempts, or should we not allow multiple reattempts but only one? Yes? So, this article is arguing among all these controversies, it's equally crucial to create a dedicated service within UPSC known as Indian Scientific Service. And what will this service do? Important thing is that these will be researchers and these will be scientists, but who will be a part of day-to-day public administration. So, what is the historical background of this argument here? You see, after independence in 1947, India needed administrative stability. India needed a federalized system of government, and therefore, governance completely dependent on generalized civil servants. As I said, people who have a hands down experience in administration, but they are not specialists into one exclusive domain. Over time, the governance and the nature of politics has changed as well. And we all know it's not a hidden thing that every government, every country in the world is now shifting towards science heavy sectors. A very good example here could be, say, climate change. Majority of countries are experiencing global warming, crop losses, food insecurity, zoonotic pandemics. We are experiencing the leakage of public distribution system, a lack of inclusive skilled education, public health, disaster management, issues regarding nuclear liability. 2 3 days back, we were discussing the Shanti Bill. Remember what Vikash was telling us? He quickly summarized. He said, apart from privatizing and liberalizing the nuclear sector, we are also replacing two existing acts like the Atomic Energy and Civil Nuclear Liabilities Act into one. That's the new Shanti Bill. So, therefore, nuclear safety. Remember, we spoke about how now plant operators will not be able to sue suppliers of nuclear equipment. What a long life Eric has. I was just about to say Eric talks of privatization and Eric is here. I was about to say Vikash was mentioning and Vikash is here. I'm so happy. Long life, all my students. Now, coming back. You see, that's what Shanti Bill is doing. Shanti Bill is privatizing and liberalizing, but does Shanti Bill create a proper safety protocol? No, because now we have completely removed nuclear suppliers from any kind of liability. You see, is this not a major question in front of the global societies, including India? AI and biotechnology are not rising questions. Bio warfare, I told you, Al Assad from Syria, the man who lost his government finally now in 2018 and 19 to be replaced by another man in Syria called Al Shara. Now, Al Assad was a very infamous dictator. Very few people know that Al Assad is a man who, even in the modern times, has used bio warfare on his protesters. Is bio warfare not a leading question? Therefore, science and scientists are becoming very important now. But in public administration, service rules have not adapted accordingly. So, what's the problem? Scientists are also in India governed by administrative rules, not the other way around. And the problem is that scientists in government services are still governed by old and outdated laws. For example, Central Civil Services Conduct Rules 1964. Now, mind you, these rules have been created for administrators. These rules are not applicable to scientists and researchers. Then why should we bring them under these rules? Beautiful critic. Thanks for relating it to the tortoise sport. Very good. That's the kind of mindset we should have. Keep relating. Yes. Now, as a result, what is happening, Bache? As a result, in India, science roles do not have a clear structure and clear authority. Scientists are not able to advise the government on important nationally crucial issues. Long term research linked to policy making is very limited in India, and therefore, unfortunately, in Indian administration, there is hardly a line, there is hardly a proper understanding between who is an administrator and who is a scientist. It's a paradox. I'm sure in economics, all of you must have heard about the diamond water paradox. I'm sure you must have. So, this article is talking about administrator scientist paradox. Civil servants are selected through UPSC competitive exam. They receive a standard about 9 months to 1 year governance and administration training. But are they getting scientific training? Are they getting trained in large and small language models? Are they getting trained in nuclear laws? Are they getting trained in space technology, defense technology? I'm sorry, they are not. And therefore, administrators who are selected from public administration training are not fit to solve modern day science problems. Scientists are unique because scientists are those people who may not be trained in administration, but they are excellent when it comes to research based career paths. They understand the technique behind current day problems in defense, in space, in AI, or in nuclear framework. They can create future policies regarding scientific problems, but they are never given administrative positions. So in India, science needs questioning. Science needs evidence and transparency, which is impossible in the case of bureaucracy and administration. And therefore, we must create a dedicated service called Indian Scientific Service. That's the only choice. Because if you do not give your scientists institutional protection, if you do not create for them separate government jobs, then what happens? Scientists will never be taken seriously. Even if they create a warning for tomorrow, nobody is going to listen to them. People will say they are making assumptions. Their policies will never be integrated into India's policy making at the level of the parliament. Nobody will take them seriously. And without any institutional protection, the role of science is symbolic. It is never applicable or influential. Policy must rely on science not just only during crisis, but on a consistent basis, on a continuous basis. Can we have global examples here? Of course, we can learn from global case studies. Now, there are countries like France, there are countries like Germany, largest economy in European Union. We have Japan, we have UK, and we have US. In all these countries, you have proper protocols that protect scientists from political interference and ensures them transparency. For example, America. US scientific integrity principles, policies protect scientists from any kind of political interference. Can we have a similar solution for our country? Yes, we can. This article is saying, let us create ISS, Indian Scientific Service, a permanent scientific cadre that works alongside civil services. What will these people do? Now, these people will recruit scientists through national selection and peer review. So, apart from competitive exam, interview, and group discussion, they will also have a peer review of their work. Once they are approved, they can now have positions in ministries and regulatory bodies, statutory bodies, non extra constitutional bodies. It protects scientific integrity. It ensures evidence based policy making. And now, what will happen? When scientists become administrators, you will implement logical, empirical, and science based study, which will have an evidence, which can do risk management and give you a long term perspective, and in which departments can they be very helpful in disaster risk management, in environmental ecological service, climate and atmospheric service, water hydrology. oceanography, agriculture, disease control, public health, and energy and resource service. So, how can we conclude this article? By saying that let's learn something from global best practices. India has had a very long history of scientific institutions, but we have never been able to do institutional integration of scientific expertise in public administration. Create an ISS. It will strengthen evidence based policy making, and then you will not have policies created by general administrators for technical issues like nuclear liability, space, biowarfare, public health. All these will now be intervened by proper scientists who have years of experience in technology, learning, and hence, once these are adopted into governance, then India can have the best of both. Scientists who are administrators, administrators who are scientists, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because now times have gone where we can have a generalized approach. Future problems are going to be very, very technical, and therefore they do need technical solutions as well. Very well said. Wonderful, Madhav. Absolutely, Ram. Meteorology is a great area. Absolutely. mRNA vaccine technology is a great area. Absolutely. Correct. Now, quickly, the question with reference to proposed ISS and scientific governance in India, please consider these statements. One, government scientists in India are governed exclusively by independent scientific service rules separate from civil service and conduct rules. Second, countries like US and UK do not provide any institutional protection for scientific advice in policy making. And three, the proposed ISS is intended to complement civil services by integrating scientific expertise into policy making through a dedicated cadre. Which of these are true? Answers are initiated from Vikash, Ashish, Sumit, Sumed, Sadhna, Saurav, all everyone with S. Hika, Terukula, Prasad, Apex, Aspirant, Shlok, Kavish, Anoop. Very good. Very good. And what is my reaction to these responses? Well, I'm speechless. I'm really proud, and a big round of applause because not just everyone has selected the right answer. There is no split verdict, no Lokpal issue, and absolutely all my students, including Rajneeshwar, Shikha, my dear Ramu, Aman, Shinobi, Eric, everyone says there is no split shlok. Everyone says the answer is C, and you're all absolutely correct. It is totally C. C is the right answer, Munna. Very good. A big round of applause, bache. Very good. First is not correct. Second is totally wrong. And third is correct. That's what the article is proposing. We must create an ISS through a dedicated cadre that can work within the civil services. Very good, bache. Excellent. Now, before I proceed with the next article, can I ask you a quick question? Can I ask you a quick question? The question is that who in India was the first person to join the administrative service? And I'm talking about before independence. Before independence, 1947, who was the first bureaucrat from India during the British times? Which Indian was that? Yes, Shlok. Let me quickly have a look at your question, Bache. Absolutely, it does, Shlok. Absolutely. You cannot use any warfare. You cannot use any weapons on innocent people. That includes protesters who are not doing any kind of violent protest. That's why when people like Mr. Al-Assad from Syria, when Iran under Mr. Khamenei, they were trying to throw some kind of weapons on the protesters and they were trying to injure them, kill them, give them death punishment. A lot of people criticized highlighting the Geneva Convention. Good question, Shlok. Very creative question. Yes, absolutely. He was Satyendranath Tagore. Correct. Thank you so much, Sanghamitra. Super kind of you, my dear. Satyendranath Tagore. Absolutely. Well done, everyone. Ashish is also giving us the date 1863. Very good. Well done. Well done. Satyendranath. Now see, that's the confusion here. Satyendranath Sinha versus Satyendranath Tagore. Now, there was another person by the name of Satyendranath Sinha. He is famous because he got appointed to a very senior administrative political responsibility under one of the Government of India Acts. But there is a difference between Satyendra Sinha and Satyendra Nath Tagore. And that's very crucial to understand. While Satyendra Nath Tagore ji was the first public servant, let's understand he was the first bureaucrat before independence. What about Satyendra Sinha? Who was he? Very interesting. Satyendra Sinha, who was he? Now, his name you must have studied when you are doing Lakshmikant or NCRT. He was one man who was selected to the Legislative Assembly or the Legislative Council. Yes, first interim governor, Satyendra Sinha. His name is very important. So don't forget that these are two different names we are dealing with. But the first bureaucrat was Mr. Satyendra Nath Tagore. While Satyendra Sinha is a separate name altogether. Okay, no confusions here. Constituent Assembly clear? Very good. Quickly, the next article, also editorial. So now let's travel a little bit. Let's travel a little bit. And where are we traveling today? We are going to West Asia. We are going to a country known as UAE. Now, why is it called UAE, United Arab Emirates? Because UAE itself is composed of many different kind of emirates. Then you have Dubai, you have Shah Jahan, you have so many more who together contribute and make one single country, UAE. It is an emirate. Emirate means a collection of different kinds of areas, administrative areas that are all combined into one. Now, why has UAE been in news repeatedly? Let's see why is it in news today. You go to the map, I'll take care of the article. Listen carefully. Now, UAE is one country where the leader known as MBZ had recently visited India, and both India and UAE were able to sign a defense security dialogue. I told you it is a defense security dialogue. It doesn't mean that India is going to interfere in West Asian politics. It doesn't mean India is going to send any army or military to this country. No. It just means that India and UAE are now going to support and cooperate with each other in combined defense capacity, defense co-production. Yes, that is UAE. MBZ. I also told you MBZ is having a bad relationship, a hectic, tense relationship with the leader of Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. So it is almost like a controversy between MBZ versus MBS, Saudi versus UAE. We have done a thorough case study of Yemen, and we all know how both UAE and Saudi are engaged in a battle over Yemen. We know that, right? Very good. Strait of Hormuz. Absolutely, as Shlok is saying, let's come to this place also. Now, we all also understand that in this map here, you can see two strategic choke points. One is the one where UAE is almost intruding into Iran, making what? The Strait of Hormuz. Strategic choke point. Then on the left side, you can see another chain of strategic choke points, but start from the beginning. Go to the Mediterranean Sea on the top. Mediterranean Sea is connected to the Red Sea by Suez Canal. Where is Suez Canal? Egypt. Strategic choke point, very narrow canal, where one ship got stuck in 2025 and it stopped the global supply chain in a major way. Okay, very thin, narrow point. Now, Suez Canal connected from Mediterranean to the Red Sea. As you come down the Red Sea, there is another important area on the Red Sea that we have discussed. Now, this comes in Africa, Sudan, that is known as Port of Sudan. Which country has acquired Port of Sudan recently? Russia has done a deal with Port of Sudan by signing a memorandum with Sudan. Why? Because Russia has lost another important port that was mentioned by, I think Kritik was mentioning, or who was mentioning, in Syria after the fall of Russia's best friend Al-Assad, named as Tartus Port. Now Russia has lost Tartus Port in Syria. Russia wanted something in this area to counterbalance China and US, and therefore Russia purchased rights to have access to Port of Sudan in Sudan on the Red Sea itself. Very good. Now as you flow down the Red Sea, you come to another strategic choke point. This is in Yemen, controlled by the Yemeni area, and this is known as, you all know, Bab al-Mandeb Strait. Both these are strategic choke points. Both these. You have seen three. Suez Canal, Bab al-Mandeb, Towards the right between UAE and Iran, the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. Absolutely, Kritik. Very good. The Tartar Sport Terukula Vikash. Madhav. Very, very good. Is it clear now? You've seen the location. You also should know through this map that UAE is the next door neighbor, not just of Saudi, but the two countries at the bottom of the Arabic Peninsula. On the left is Yemen. Yes, the same country which is in controversy. Northern Yemen controlled by Houthi, Iran. Southern Yemen, fighting is going on between Saudi and UAE. Saudi wants peace and stable government because Saudi shares a long boundary with Yemen. There is a mountain range we have discussed in this area, Terukula. Which mountain range is that, bache? Boundary between Saudi and Yemen, there is a mountain that comes here. That mountain is a very unique landscape. Which mountain was that? Yes. Yes, which mountain is that in this area? Right at the border of Yemen and Saudi? Prasad? Sumed? Yes. Vikash? Asir Mountain. Brilliant, Ramu. Asir Mountain, bache. Brilliant. Asir Mountain is the boundary mountain here. Unique landscape, I must say. Okay. One of the highest peaks in this area. Now, looking at the right side neighbor, Oman. Oman is a rich country. And how can we associate Oman to Dilmun and Makan? A key area from where Indus Valley civilization, today in the newspaper, we are also realizing that scientists and researchers are saying, archaeologists are saying, perhaps Indus Valley civilization is even more old than what we imagine. Maybe it's even more old. Right now, we still don't understand the real dating of that civilization. India's first urban civilization, Dilmun Makan. Today, it is common, Vikash, very good, because of another port called Dukum Port. Yes, India has an access to the Dukum port for repairing, docking and maintenance of its fleet. This gives India an edge in this area to counterbalance China. What a paradox. I've told you, Oman is an oil-rich, rich country. Yemen is a poor country. Yemen is also oil-rich, but years of civil violence. And at the same time, with Oman also, India had recently signed a CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Okay? All this is clear? Brilliant. Now let's proceed with this current article. Again, please focus on the UAE. Also look at the location of Iran and the Persian Gulf. Now let me explain this article. What has happened? India and UAE are two very friendly countries with each other. Back in 2022, 2 years after COVID pandemic, bache, India and UAE had signed a CEPA. I just told you recently in 2025 when Mr. Modi had gone to three countries, Jordan, Ethiopia and Oman. India and Oman had signed a CEPA agreement, but in 2022, 4 years before, India and UAE had already signed a CEPA. What is the target of this CEPA? Remember, the target of the CEPA with UAE is to create a 100 billion US dollar 100 billion bilateral trade between both India and UAE by 2030. And really, this target has been achieved within 5 years. Now we have new target. By 2032, we are trying to push the bilateral trade to about $200 billion. This shows a rapid growth in India-UAE relationship. But now comes the important thing, so listen carefully. Very good. Who said deep integration? Very good, Vikash. Absolutely, it is deep integration. Then what is narrow? Shallow integration. Shallow integration is PTA, FTA. Remember, deep integration, SEPA, TEPA. Very good. Now coming back, the beauty about this trade deal is that this has been made possible because of non-oil trade. I'm writing it here in capital. Non-oil trade. We know that West Asia is an oil-rich region. Most of these countries are OPEC and OPEC plus countries, right? Right? But India in the last few years has always preferred importing oil from Russia. We also know the reason. Because if you do a comparison of Russian oil price with the oil price of West Asia, Brent, or Texas from US, you will realize Russian oil was heavily discounted because of American and European sanctions. There is a difference of $7 to $8 per barrel. So India preferred buying Russian oil. It's easier and it's cheaper. It comes quickly also. So the oil dependence on West Asia has slowly declined. I have already told you, under American pressure, India had already stopped taking any kind of oil from Iran and later with Venezuela. Very good, Vikash. So we are taking only Ural oil. Today, what has happened between India and UAE, trade has grown by volumes. But it is the non oil trade that has been able to reach $65 billion. $65 billion is the non oil trade. Imagine it's growing at the rate of 20% per annum. And UAE has a total investment of $22 billion in India. Indian investment in UAE, $16 million. Sorry, $16 billion. Around 5 million Indians are living in UAE. I have written all of this here. Don't worry. Yes. Around 5 million Indians are living in UAE. Great diaspora, great income remittance to India. Over 1,200 weekly flights are connecting both the countries together. The relationship has definitely expanded beyond oil trade, and energy. Now, which are the new sectors that are driving this great boom in relationship? Advanced manufacturing, renewable energy, technology, and logistics. Can we have some examples here? Of course. Now, if you look at certain UAE based companies, one of the major ones are, say, for example, DP World. These are small case studies, don't need to remember, just listen. There is a company called DP World. Now, this DP World company is investing about $5 billion in India right now. Then, DP World, being the largest port operator company in UAE, has now decided to invest this much money in India itself. Now, if you look at Emirat NBD, what is Emirat NBD? Emirat NBD is one of the largest banking groups in the Middle East, headquartered in Dubai, and today it is doing a kind of tie-up with a Maharashtra-based private bank in India named as Ratnakar Bank Limited. Ratnakar Bank Limited. And what are they doing? This leading UAE bank, Emirat NBD, has now acquired a majority stake in India's Ratnakar Private Bank, allowing more foreign direct investment in India. Then you have many more private companies that are investing in India's oil refineries. You have another one named as Mubadala Company. What is Mubadala Investment Company? Now, it is a sovereign wealth fund company in Abu Dhabi, and it keeps on investing globally in strategic sectors. In India also, it has invested majorly when you talk about strategic dimensions. Then, if you look at Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, it is investing in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, in the gift city. So, you see, in the non oil segment, there is a lot of cooperation that's happening. Apart from that, Indian companies, Ashok Leyland, electric buses are being provided in UAE by Ashok Leyland. Larsen and Turbo, solar plus storage project has been operational in Abu Dhabi. Indian banks, technology firms, and healthcare companies are already expanding their footprint in Dubai and Shah Jahan. And as Terukula was mentioning, all other 5 emirates of UAE. Yes. Now, with such a situation, we can understand that economic cooperation has also been high. Why? Because we signed a SEPA in 2022, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Listen carefully now. Under this SEPA 2022, 90% of tariff was removed on goods that went from India to UAE. India-UAE bilateral investment treaty was signed in 2024. Strategic defense partnership is there. All these policies are creating long-term investor confidence. And what about the global markets? This is very important point. The partnership between India and UAE is expanding beyond bilateral trade. How? Now, a very good example has been written in this article. I have also written it here. There is an organization, a platform known as Bharat Mart. Bharat Mart UAE. And what does this platform do? Bharat Mart UAE is helping Indian exporters to diversify exports from India to UAE and then from UAE to Africa, West Asia, and Eurasia. All this is because of digital infrastructure projects in Africa. Now, UAE and India are joining hands to explore more infrastructure projects in underdeveloped nations of Africa itself. So we are trying to create a corridor, a global trade corridor, India to UAE, UAE to other nations in Eurasia, that is in Eastern European regions, as well as in the African regions. Now, very good. Now, what about cooperation in artificial intelligence? Now, India is now, this is also front page news, we will talk about it, don't worry. India is right now hosting 16th February, that is today, to 20th February 26, the AI Impact Summit in New Delhi. AI Impact Summit. And UAE is a major AI investor. In fact, don't forget, UAE also created world's first Minister of State for AI in 2017. Very interesting. Everybody knows about Albania, the first robotic minister in Albania, which was doing public procurement in Albania. Yes, but in 2017, it was UAE that created a dedicated ministry known as World's First Minister of State for AI. So, Ministry for AI. Just like India in 2022 had created the Sehkari Mantralay, Ministry of Cooperation with Amit Shah as the leader. UAE created in 2017. What? Ministry for Dedicated AI. Yes. Delia. Very good. That was Albania. This is UAE. And UAE also is a country which is now ready to work with India in creating more data centers, advanced computing, and AI innovation. What's the strategic significance of all this? There is a significance. India is now the fourth largest economy in the world. And what's the value of our economy? When I say what is the population of India, all my students start laughing because they get reminded of the Akhand Bharat controversy that we were doing last week. Okay. So in India, if you say total population is 1.47 billion, what's the size of Indian economy? The fourth largest economy in the world. Well, it is about $4 trillion GDP. Yes. $4 trillion GDP worth economy that India has become today. Indian companies are expanding globally. The Delhi Declaration, which was signed between India and Arab foreign ministers, outlines this cooperation till 2028. India-UAE corridor is a key part of India-Arab economic realignment. So how can we conclude this article? We can conclude this article by saying India-UAE economic corridor has been the result. Why we are now looking at $200 billion worth of trade by say 2030. We have a new target by 2032. Already we are two great trading partners. And integrating with UAE means better integration in global supply chain, strategic economic partnership that has been successful despite a reduction in overall oil trade. Okay. So just as you are giving focus to India-Oman SEPA, also understand 2022 India-UAE SEPA has now resulted in India's major foothold in the West Asia. And one student was mentioning about remittance. I was not able to read that. Kritik said, second remittance after America. So look at the importance. When you talk about foreign remittance, then perhaps UAE is one of the top countries from where India is getting remittances. That means so many Indians are living in UAE, because of whom we get contributions to our GDP. So anyway, it's a great partnership to explore for future, okay? Especially because right now, both the countries are caught up in a lot of instability that's happening in general in West Asia. So quickly the question, with reference to India-UAE SEPA of 2022 and recent developments in bilateral ties, consider these statements. Vikash already answers. 1. India-UAE SEPA eliminated tariffs nearly on 90% of goods between both the countries. Shlok answers. 2nd, non-oil trade between India and UAE remains lower than oil trade and continues to be secondary component of bilateral trade. 3. Bharat Mart in UAE is intended to serve as a logistic and wholesale hub for Indian goods, targeting markets in Africa, West Asia and Eurasia. Which of these are valid? Terukula, Shlok, Sadhna, Saurav, Sumit, Sanghamitra, aspirant. Kritik, Madhav, Kavish, Elvin. Are you sure? Both the enemies together are our partner. That is why it was in the news, Shlok. Well said. Initially, India signed a security defense dialogue with Saudi. Immediately after that, we signed one with UAE. Sorry, vice versa. First with UAE, then with Saudi. Everyone was laughing. They said MBZ and MBS are enemies. But how is India doing this strategic balancing by making both as close trade partners? So Anup, Ashish, Ramu, Elvin, Kavish. Now what about Sitaram? Sitaram is not here with us today. What about Reshma? Reshma hasn't answered. Eric answered. Hika answered. What about Bulbul? What about Shinobi? What about Munna? Has everyone answered? And all those dear students who are not answering? Even in Telegram also, very few people are taking the initiative to vote actually. See, do not worry. Answer. Worst come worst, your answer will be wrong, but that doesn't matter. You're learning every time you're answering. If you just read the question and answer, I promise you will forget it. If you attempt that answer and then you come to know whether you were right or wrong, you'll never forget it. So please answer. Don't worry whether it's right or wrong. Very good. Absolutely, Shlo. Well done. No split. Yes, AB also answers. So what's the answer? Totally C is the answer. And then what should I do? A big round of applause to everyone. Well done, Munna. Well done, everyone. Second is not correct. It's the opposite of the truth. We know that when it comes to India-UAE, we are soon targeting by 2032 about $200 billion trade, and most of this trade has been successful because of economic and strategic integration, not because of oil trade. Oil trade, in fact, is reducing now. Very good, Shlo. That should be the spirit. Well done. Okay, then. Let's proceed with third article. Now, this is coming from GS paper 2. We are looking at polity, we are looking at judiciary, and we are looking at Indian administration. Typically, we are looking at, in India, criminal offences. Strong criminal, strict criminal offences. We have in past discussed about UAPA, we have discussed about POCSO, we have spoken about so many other kind of serious crimes that are taken care of either through death penalty. We have also discussed here the role of president, the role of governor, all that we have covered. Today we are looking at GS paper 2, constitution, polity, administration. We are looking at the whole big question of death penalty in India. Definitely it's an ethical issue as well. GS paper 4. While some people believe that death penalty and life imprisonment are perfect solutions to punish the people who have done hideous crimes against humanity, such as the POCSO 2012, UAPA 1967, all these are valid punishments. But then there are some human rights activists who also believe that death penalty and life imprisonment will never be able to change criminals by heart. It will never lead to a reform. In fact, it will further make them more aggressive, and it is very dehumanizing. So there are different ideas, there are different protocols, different opinions that people have, but this article is more factual based. What does this article say? Very good. The acquittal rate is very high, Ramu, even in POCSO. And that is a very concerning thing as well. Because POCSO is a very hideous crime. Yes, Vikash. As we look into POCSO section 6, we also talk about aggraved assault. Very good. Brilliant. Now, coming to this article, Bache, there is a small data that we shall start with. This article is saying, what about death penalty in India? As of the data of December 2025, about 574 prisoners, 550 men and 24 women are on death row in India. All these people have been given death penalty as punishment. And there is a 43.5% increase in death penalty, people who are waiting to be executed since 2016. That's a huge increase. But unfortunately, the paradox is that most death row cases that are given this punishment, serious punishment, are either relating to murder. About 45% people who are given death punishment are murderers. And the remaining are concerned with murder. Along with that, they have also committed some sexual violence. Sexual offenses, about 35%. But if you look at the trends in India, then you will not be very happy. In fact, it's very disturbing to realize that in India, even though the sessions court, I repeat, even though the sessions court are giving many death sentences, the higher courts, including high courts, are increasingly cancelling or overturning them. Why is this happening? Before you understand why is this happening, I would want all my students to understand, what do you mean by sessions court? What is the sessions court? We are looking at serious crimes, serious offences in India, and this follows a hierarchy in judiciary. It starts at the bottom with Sessions Court, it goes to the High Court, and eventually, as an appellate jurisdiction, it can go to Supreme Court. But what is Sessions Court? Yes, what is Sessions Court, bache? Let me quickly explain. Session Court is a district level court. Sessions Court is a district level criminal court in India that tries serious criminal cases, especially those involving major offenses like murder, rape, crimes punishable with life imprisonment or death penalty. All these crimes are established, and the Sessions Court is also established under CRPC, Code of Criminal Procedure in India. And Sessions Court are functioning very good at the district level. Who is presiding over Sessions Court? Over Sessions Court, the presiding is done by the Sessions Judge. It is the Sessions Judge that presides over the district level Sessions Court. And what are the powers of this court? What can Sessions Court do? Sessions Court can conduct trial in serious criminal cases. Never forget for the UPSC exam, bache, that these Sessions Court can, I repeat, they can award life imprisonment or death sentence. Both of them can do it. However, death sentence given by a Sessions Court must be confirmed by High Court before execution is possible. Did you understand? Sessions Court is the district level court, right? Created under CRPC. It can give death penalty. It can give life imprisonment as a punishment, but bache, never forget, you can get a prelims question. Death sentences given by Sessions Court must be confirmed by High Court before execution can take place. And this is the main problem in India. In the last 10 years, Sessions Court in India have given 1,310 death sentences, but the High Court has confirmed only 8% out of these. Supreme Court confirmed none of these death sentences that it has been reviewing. The Honorable Supreme Court has not even confirmed any death sentence in the last 3 years. In 2025, Supreme Court released 10 death row prisoners, the highest release that has happened in 2016. And what about High Courts? High Courts are also repeatedly acquitting many accused. They are reducing the confirmation of death sentence. Death sentences have come down over 60% since 2019. Why is all this happening? Why? Because courts are becoming more cautious and more thoughtful, and they are not ready to award death penalty. Why? Because they are concerned about quality of evidence. They are concerned about procedural fairness. Most of the courts in India are understaffed. They have a very high case burden. Example, the Honorable Supreme Court is working at 34 judge level. Collegium is saturated. But still, there are about 88,000 pending cases in front of Supreme Court right now. Same situation happens in the case of Sessions and High Court. There is a lack of staff. Jurisdictions never happen on time. Death sentence involves procedural fairness. People are worried about that. People are often more concerned about Article 21. People say that protection of the accused right is also a key part of judiciary. While death sentences are still being given by trial courts in India at the Sessions level, district level, but higher courts like Supreme Court and the High Courts are very reluctant. They are very reluctant in giving final confirmation about these cases, and that's the key issue raised by the article. Now, this article is not talking about this, but I want everybody to understand there is a doctrine in India known as rarest of the rare doctrine. What is this? Under this doctrine, death penalty should be given only in extremely exceptional situations when life imprisonment is not considered a sufficient punishment. The principle ensures that death penalty is an exception, used rarely, not as a routine punishment. And the doctrine was established when? You all know about important Supreme Court cases. Everybody knows. Bomai case. Everybody knows. Keshwanand Bharti. Indra Sahni. Shah Banu. We all understand. Minreva Mills. Yes, we should also know. that the case of rarest of the rare doctrine, was established in 1980 by a famous Supreme Court case known as Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab case. I want you to remember, so I'm double highlighting. Bachchan Singh versus Punjab case. In this case, the court held that life imprisonment should be the rule and death penalty is an exception. Golaknath case. Very good, Sumit. Very important. Very important. Excellent. Everybody must know. Minriva Mills and Bomai case, and there are some more also. We can do a separate session only on court cases also. If you're willing, just let me know and I'll organize a Zoom session on that. Okay. Now, this is the whole issue all about. That while death penalty must be given as a punishment in case the case demands that, but in India, we are not doing that. Higher courts always are doing acquittals. Repeated acquittals are happening that defeats the purpose of punishments like death penalty, aggraved crimes, and criminal offences in India. Very good, Vikash. Okay, so everybody will remember the Bachchan Singh case 1980. You can make a mnemonic with Amitabh Bachchan. Bachchan Singh case is 1980. Okay. With reference to death penalty, judicial process in India, consider the following statements. Now, if somebody is forgetting 1980, let's create a wonderful mnemonic. Let's create a wonderful mnemonic. At least Mr. Amitabh Bachchan must be 80 years old. I'm just imagining. I don't know his age. I think he should be 80. So from there, we will relate Bachchan case happened in 1980. What was it related to? Death penalty. Now, nobody will forget. Okay. With reference to death penalty judicial process, consider these statements. 1. The death sentence awarded by Sessions Court must be confirmed by High Court before the execution. Second, the Supreme Court has confirmed multiple death sentences in last 3 years. And 3. Over past decade, 10 years, over half of the death sentences decided by high courts have been confirmed. Which of these are the valid answer? Vikash, AB, Elvin, Anoop, Shlok. Ramu, Urupam, Rajnishwar, my dear Kavish, Urupam, Kaushik. Yes, we can do that. Your wish is my command. Till examinations, my students are the VVIP. Whatever you say, I'll do. But it's conditional. Love is always conditional. I want selection in return. Kavish, Anoop, Urupam, Munna. Very good, everyone. You're right as always. No split, and you are right also. Shikha, Ramu, A is the right answer. One is the only one that's correct. Second and third are opposite of the true. Big round of applause. Very well done. No split. Perfect. Correct verdict. Very good. Proud of you. Now, next article, bache, quickly. We are once again looking at GS paper 3 and GS paper 2. GS paper 2 because this is international relations, and GS paper 3 science. In terms of not science, we are looking at economy. We are looking at free trade agreement. We are looking at trade deficit, trade surplus. We are looking at India-US upcoming bilateral trade agreement, Indian economy. Okay. Yes, we will do that as per it. Done, bache. Let me announce it in 2-3 days on Zoom then. Okay. All right. Now listen to the article carefully. Ambiguities in the US-India trade deal. Shok is already happy. President Trump has come. Yes, Terukula is happy too. Okay. What is the article looking at? Let's focus. India and the USA have signed an interim trade agreement. I told you in one of the classes, that's why it is still being called as early harvest agreement. What is it being called as? Early harvest trade agreement. Why? It is still being negotiated. It has not been finalized. We are still talking about it. And what will happen after the negotiation is successful? We are going to sign a proper free trade agreement. This is the bilateral trade agreement between two countries that we are looking at. This is very important because it is coming after 1 year, literally 1 year of tensions that were created by US tariff on Indian imports and severe punishment, 25% extra punishment and 500% threat punishment of tariff on India because India went on importing Russian oil. The agreement aims to reduce trade tension, but it has also raised a major question about India's sovereignty and India's independent policy, foreign policy. That's why in India right now, opposition leaders like Mr. Rahul Gandhi and many more Kisan Sabhas, many more farmer groups are busy in retaliating. They are protesting. They are saying India has bowed down in front of America's pressure. India had from initially made a promise that India will never ever make a compromise and never say yes. One, to stop importing Russian oil. Two, India will never open agriculture, especially in the case of wheat, rice, pulses, and dairy products, to American markets. India will never allow any kind of genetically modified food product. Today, farmers and oppositions are blaming the government that because the reduction of tariff from 50 to 18% has shown so much benefit in the case of currency stability, in the case of stock market stability, in the case of reduction of trade deficit and capital outflow has been reduced, the government is now bowing down its head and coming to its knees in front of US President Trump. So, what does this agreement say, Bache? What is the agreement famous about? Well, the biggest thing is that this agreement is highly conditional. And second, this agreement is very, very monopolistic. Very monopolistic. President Trump is showing lots of whims and fancies in this agreement. One, US has already said, I will reduce tariff on Indian imports from 50 to 18%. In return, India has to give major commitments like reducing tariff and non-tariff barrier on US industrial goods and agriculture import. Listen carefully, I repeat, agriculture import. Agriculture import. I repeat, agriculture import. That's the main tension all about. Possibly, India will also stop purchasing Russian Ural oil. And it's not officially confirmed, but possibly. And then maybe India may reroute its purchase of oil back to Texas oil from America and perhaps Venezuelan oil. This is the monopoly of Mr. Trump. India has also said and probably agreed to purchasing $500 billion worth of US goods in energy, aircraft technology in the next 5 years. That means whichever free trade agreements India has been signing in the last 1 year to diversify its export market, whether it's New Zealand, Australia, whether it's Japan, South Korea, whether it's China, whether it's Oman, Jordan, Ethiopia, or UAE, whether it's Saudi, whether it's Russia, whether it's Brazil, whether it's UK, EU, whether it's TIPA, everything will get wasted, because if we are spending $500 billion only to buy American products, obviously we can't afford to buy products from all other markets with whom we have already done a written FTA. What an embarrassing thing for us today. US exactly wants this to happen. Why? Because US wants to reduce India's trade surplus with the US. US wants to make India experience a trade deficit when it comes to dealing with America. Are there any benefits of this bilateral trade agreement? Yes, there are benefits. What benefits? Supporters of the deal are saying lower tariff today could mean Indian exports will once again get back American market, US market. $48 billion market America is to Indian exports. Best part, very good Vikash. All these export sectors are also labor intensive sectors. So if we start exporting to America back again, it will also lead to employment generation, particularly in the informal sector of Indian economy. Good amount of employment coming from labor intensive, export intensive segments. Examples, gems and jewelry, apparel, textile, leather, electronic goods. Second, Indian business may have better access once again to American market, improving the value of Indian currency. Stock markets are getting stable and investor confidence has also become strong. But there is a concern. Amid all this advantage that India is now imagining to get, recently US also signed a bilateral trade agreement with Bangladesh. Yes, the same country with which we share the longest land border of 4096 kilometers. What trade agreement? That now Bangladesh will only purchase cotton raw material from US, not from India. Bangladesh is the leading manufacturer of cotton textile. But till now, India was a major supplier of raw material of cotton. Today, the raw material will now come from US, not from India. So therefore, once again, a loss to India's cotton farmers, big loss. And that will cancel all the loss that we get from America's bilateral trade agreement of reducing 50 to 18% the whole tariff. What are the other concerns? Biggest concern is impact on farmers. Now we all remember, 100% all of us remember, that India had exited regional comprehensive economic partnership with ASEAN nations, particularly ASEAN plus members like Australia, New Zealand. Why? Because India could not afford to purchase agriculture commodities and dairy products. Otherwise, Indian products would not have competed and India's farmers and dairy farmers would have experienced a loss. Today, same thing is happening with US. India usually never allows import of cereals like wheat, rice, and pulses. Never. But today, under President Trump's pressure, we may have to. We may have to allow certain opening up of agriculture. That may mean American farm products entering Indian markets, a major risk of livelihood to India's own farmers. Second worry is genetically modified food. For a very long time, India has kept on fighting ideologically with President Trump, saying that I am not going to import any genetically modified corn. Now, earlier Diptesh used to also be a part of our lecture, very proactive student, and I clearly remember in September in one of my classes, as I was talking about genetic corn, he had also given this wonderful idea along with my dear Ramu that also because President Trump comes from that belt in America, he gets his votes from there, from an area which is a leader manufacturer producer of corn, GMO corn. Why will he not want to become politically famous? He wants to impose all that corn on us. But in India, we do not allow GMO foods at all. In fact, we have only allowed GM cotton, BT cotton. We have never allowed any kind of BT brinjal also, never. So why should we allow BT genetically modified corn in our market? But again, there's no clarity in this agreement. Once again, President Trump, through this bilateral trade agreement, may push genetically modified food products in India market. The agreement also mentions that India will cancel non-tariff barrier. What is non-tariff barrier? What is non-tariff barrier? I have told you, bache, earlier that tariff barrier can be two types. One is trade barrier can be two types. One is a tariff barrier and one is a non-tariff barrier. What is tariff barrier? Tariff barrier happens when you are actually putting a lot of, say, custom duty. Import duty, like a very good example could be America's 50% tariff on Indian exports. What do you mean by non-tariff? When you don't stop trade by putting monetary barriers, you do it by putting non-monetary barriers. The best example that I can think of a non-tariff trade barrier is CBAM between India and European Union, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. Another important non-tariff trade barrier is GM goods between India and US. So if at all you ever get a question on non-tariff trade barriers, please think of CBAM. Who said that? Shikha said that. Big round of applause to Shikha. In one of my CA lectures, we have spoken about it. Phytosanitary measures. Very good, Shikha. Very good, Shikha. Phytosanitary measures. Sometimes countries also create barriers to import from other countries, saying that these products will not follow our environmental, human, and animal health standards. These are phytosanitary measures. Very good. So we can think of CBAM here. Carbon adjustment tax between EU India. We can think of genetically modified groups and phytosanitary measures. Yes. So this bilateral trade between India and America is also raising a big question on non-tariff barrier. President Trump says India has agreed to not only open up its agriculture sector but also to reduce non-tariff barrier. Does he mean GMO foods? Is he referring to a non-tariff barrier regarding genetically modified food imports? That's the confusion right now. Another problem is unequal tariff arrangement. It is so arbitrary. Earlier, US tariff on Indian goods were about 2.5%. So even if he is reducing them from 50 to 18, it is still very high. Earlier, it used to be only 2.5%. Now, anyway, even if he reduces, it will only be 18% reduction. It will come to 18%. So overall, are we benefiting? No. Still, it is a kind of tariff blackmail only. And what about sovereignty concern? Yes, India believes in non-alignment. India believes in strategic multilateral alignment. But US wants to keep a control and monitoring over India's import of Russian oil and petroleum products. Is that good? Who is US to keep a watch on us? If India imports Russian oil again, extra tariff will be imposed. What kind of a relationship is this? This raises a question about India's economic independence and decision making. How can we conclude this article? India-US interim trade agreement will definitely benefit our export sector. It will definitely reduce tariff, but it's coming at a very heavy price. We have no clarity about agriculture dairy, no clarity about GM food. Maybe President Trump is using this to mean non-tariff trade barrier. Third, we have zero clarity, about whether this kind of strict monitoring that US is maintaining on our deal of oil with Russia could mean tomorrow, even if we import few barrels from Russia, he will go back to the tariff of 50%. Is that valid? No. And in between, he has also backstabbed us by signing that cotton import deal with Bangladesh. So you see, there is no much benefit if you see closely. Only one benefit, and that's an economic blackmail. Tariff from 15 to 18%. Nothing else we can see here. Okay, this is the map of US. Yes, bache? Easy map. We have also spoken about Canada-US border. Remember, we spoke about how the 5 Great Lakes are here in the border. We also discussed about how Canada and US have integrated oil pipelines. So Canada is a major exporter. Canada is a major exporter of crude oil to US. Majority of US crude oil comes from Canada. But Canada is still suffering because Canada only has one buyer of its crude oil, America, US. Everyone was asking, why can't Canada diversify its oil exports? Why? Because US will never allow that. Most of the pipelines are on the border. They are integrated. Let alone diversify. I told you, bache. Most of the oil reserves are located in West Canada. But most of the consumers of the oil are in East Canada. Even if Canada wants to send its oil from its western part to eastern part, all the pipelines go through US. So clear-cut domination of US is there. So look at the boundary. Then you can also look at Alaska over here, bacha. Alaska is important because when you talk about Arctic states, which are the states which are now trying to rush towards Arctic Circle and conquer all the resources, then US does it through Alaska. Then of course this map we had discussed when we were talking about Greenland. How America wants to capture Greenland from Denmark, a NATO country. Already we spoke about the Thule base, the Pitufik base, and now America wants to create an Iron Dome of missile system in Greenland. Yes, we have also seen Cuba, how President Trump is threatening Cuba. He is not allowing any kind of oil to reach Cuba. He wants to capture Cuba just like he has captured Venezuela. Cuba, in detail, we have done the controversy about Mr. Fidel Castro. And when did the Cuban Missile Crisis happen? Which year was that? When there was a war between Soviet and US over who owns Cuba. Soviet put missiles, US retaliated. So Cuba. Which year was that, bache? Which year was the Cuban Missile Crisis? 19? What 2? Which number comes in between? 19-2. When was the Cuban Missile Crisis? Cuban Missile Crisis? Not 1991. 1991 is famous for Soviet Union breakdown, new country of Russia, LPG reforms. That was 1991. I'm talking about Cuban Missile Crisis. Yes, very good. 1962. Very good, bache. 1962. Soviet put missiles, US retaliated. Since then, US hates Cuba. Okay, and US has another doctrine, Dunro doctrine. It was earlier Monroe, now it is Dunro. It believes entire South America, Latin America is a part of US. Clear? Clear? I have also in detail spoken about Shadow Fleet. Yesterday I saw a documentary. There's a very good channel. I can suggest you the name. When your time permits, after the prelims, you can keep watching this channel. It is known as Caspian Report. Very nice channel. It's a channel that's, I think it's based out of this Azerbaijan. Very nice channel. Free documentaries on YouTube. Very nicely they cover all the geopolitical issues. When your time permits, you can watch that. Caspian Report. Very good channel. So I was watching that channel and they were talking about how recently Russia has also acted very smart. It has sent about 10 shadow fleets. But none of them were carrying Russian flag. All of them were carrying Atlantic flag. But America is also very smart. President Trump understood that it has been sent by Russia. It's a shadow fleet. So immediately they tried to capture that. Alaska. Near Alaska, it has happened. Atlantic Sea, it has happened. Many, many cases keep on happening like that. Caspian Report, yes. Very good. Okay, so that was all for this article. Do we have a question? Yes. With reference to India-US interim trade agreement, consider the following statements. 1. The agreement involves reduction of US tariff on Indian imports, while India reduces tariff and non-tariff barrier on US industrial and agriculture goods. Second, the agreement explicitly means clearly guarantees continued tariff protection for cereal imports in India. 3. Non-tariff barriers may include restrictions like bans on genetically modified food imports. 4. The agreement includes India's intention to significantly increase purchase of US energy and technology products. Which of these are valid? Slightly confusing. Think about it. Vikash, Shlok, Madhav are answering. Kritik, Limbs has answered. Kavish has answered. Aspirant answered. What about Prasad? Sitaram is not here, I know. Reshma was there. Ashish, Shinobi, Hika. What happened to Kojumba? She's not there. Eric? Shikha, Hika. Very good, very good. Lots of answers are coming and there seems to be a good majority. Well done. I don't see any split verdict so far. Munna, Sumit, Elvin, Rajnishwar. Then let me break it down for you. Clearly, we'll eliminate the ones that are very, very wrong, which is the one that is totally incorrect. The agreement clearly guarantees continued tariff protection for cereal imports in India. No, it is questionable right now. That is why everyone is worried about it. That earlier India was very clear that India will never import any cereal, whether it's wheat or rice from US. But recently, in this upcoming bilateral trade agreement, we don't see any certainty or clarity. And that's why people are worried. What if India opens it up? We don't know. Nothing categorically has been said on paper right now. So very good, Asad, Shlok, Sanghamitra, Anup. Second can be eliminated. So if we eliminate second, anyway, we get to answer A, which is a valid answer. Well done. But let's understand others also. What are non-tariff barriers? CBAM, phytosanitary measures, as Shikha mentioned, between India, US, India, EU, and then, of course, genetically modified corn, food products. So, is it correct? It's totally correct. Third is also right. If third is right, that means B can be safely eliminated anyway. And the fourth, first agreement involves reduction of US tariff on Indian imports. Yes. And India is also going to reduce both. So first is correct. First is correct. That means again C cannot be valid. Now between A and D, what about the fourth statement? India's intent to significantly increase? No. India has not said this on paper, or India has said it on paper. Yes, of course it's correct. Of course it's correct. India has said that fine, if the pressure is so much, then maybe I will reduce Russian oil import. We are already reducing it now. And actually that means we will increase import from US. We are already increasing, by the way. That's correct. In fact, $500 billion worth of goods we are saying we will purchase. That's what is being spoken about, making A the right answer. So do you deserve a big round of applause? Well, the biggest round of applause. It was a tough question. And I was sure that there will be a split, but there is no split. Just showing your dedication, showing your focus, and showing conceptual clarity, making me the happiest human right now. Very good. God bless. Next article. What are bio-based chemicals and enzymes? Quick 2 minutes review of this article. GS paper 3, renewable energy, science and technology. Do not forget, in January, we had another piece of news which said that India became the first country in the world to use bio-bitumen to manufacture its roads. Please remember, don't forget. Yesterday or day before, I have done a bilingual video on the main channel in StudyIQ. So those who are not comfortable with Hindi may not be comfortable with the video, but then those who can follow bilingual, I think you can also watch that video when time allows. Bio-bitumen. India became the first country to actually use it in road construction. And as Vikash is saying, of course, India has invested in the Bio E3 policy in a very big way in this time, the budget that we have announced. Okay? All right. All right. Ramu, did you answer this question? I haven't seen Ramu's response. Eric's response I saw. Are you there, Bache? Or I missed it? Okay. Science and technology. Correct. Let's quickly proceed with the article. What does the article say? Yes. Very good. Very good, Terukula. Okay. This article is saying that bio-based chemicals are industrial chemicals that are made from biological materials like sugarcane, corn, starch, biomass instead of petroleum. So these are products that are made, these are chemicals that are not made from petroleum or kerosene, fossil fuels. In fact, they are made from much cleaner biological organic materials like sugarcane, corn starch, or biomass. What do? They are often used, they are often produced. In fact, how do you produce them? You generally make them by using process like fermentation, enzyme, and other natural biological process like decomposition. No kind of petroleum or kerosene based chemical is used here. And why are they so important? They are important because some of these include, say, lactic acid, bioalcohol, solvent, intermediaries, all of which are used in plastic, cosmetic, pharmaceutical, organic acids, example, lactic acid. And how are they manufactured? They are usually made through fermentation or by using enzymes. But what are enzymes? Enzymes are biological catalyst. What is a catalyst? That enables a reaction to take place. Yes? For example, when I gave you the case study of green hydrogen, I said if you split a water molecule between hydrogen and oxygen by using electricity, electrolysis, here electricity becomes the catalyst, right? Something that promotes a reaction, it makes a reaction happen. Similarly, enzymes are biological catalysts that are used in industries like detergent manufacturing, food processing, textile, and pharmaceutical, paper industry as well. They ultimately reduce energy usage also. They are able to reduce your carbon footprint also, emission also, because one, they work at a lower temperature and they work at a very low pressure. Why does India need bio based chemicals? Why do we need them? Why do we need them? What happened? Any issues are happening? AB, you're having a difficulty in audio video? Is that the case? Okay, well said, well pointed out to me. All right. But how many articles are remaining? Okay, articles are remaining, very small ones. Let me summarize the whole lecture in 2 minutes because there is some problem with the charger. Thank you so much for reminding AB. Extremely kind and sweet of you. Let me quickly finish in 2-3 minutes and I'll put it to charge. God bless you for that. Thank you, dear. Okay, quickly coming back. Why does India need them? India needs them. Yeah, I understood now, AB. I understood, Bache. Now, India needs them because India has a large agriculture base. India has an expertise in fermentation technology. Then, if you talk about, say, creating self sufficiency in manufacturing, improving sustainable growth of agriculture industry, creating a circular economy, we must create materials which are sustainable, that reduce our carbon footprint, that are able to give us the ability to become zero carbon by, say, 2070. Okay, now having said that, benefits of biochemicals will be reduce import dependence. Second, create a new market for agriculture product. And is there any example here? There is. Say India imported about $480 million worth of acetic acid. Acetic acid in 2023. And today, what can we change? India's current bio-based chemical and enzymes are already the priority under the budget this year. As Vikash said, Bio E3 policy, Department of Biotechnology. There are countries like EU, US, China, Japan who are already having a dedicated biomanufacturing product. And although it's a very important development, challenges are there. What are the challenges? What did I just tell you? I told that for making biochemicals, you need one thing. And what is that one thing? Agriculture products, organic products, sugarcane, corn, and starch. But where do they come from? Where does sugarcane, corn, and starch come from? Sugarcane, corn, and starch, all of these are coming from agriculture. Therefore, it is difficult to provide these products. Why? Because it needs too much feedstock supply. What is feedstock? Biological material used to produce bio-based chemicals. As I said, sugar cane, corn, biomass, agriculture residue. You will have to diversify many agriculture products into this area. Will that challenge food security? Will that challenge animal feed? It could. Supply is a question. Higher cost as compared to petrochemical, definitely. Creating fermentation and decomposition at a large scale will create a lot of expense. So therefore, what can we do? What can be done? Possible solutions are shared biomanufacturing infrastructure between private and government, standardization, certification, government procurement support. Now, if the government starts providing MSP in this area, like ethanol, absolutely, which is blended into petrol, but the big question was, how can we divert so much sugar into making ethanol? It might create sugar insecurity. Like, for example, today another news is dominating. I'll make a video on that today. After 4 years, India has once again started allowing export of wheat and sugar. What a great development. So therefore, procuring all these materials could be a challenge in front of us. Quickly, let's proceed with the next article. We are looking at ISRO. Something has happened in GS paper 3, Science and Technology. What has happened, Bache? Now, what has happened is that debris. Do you understand what is debris? What do you understand? What is debris? I had made a video on orbital debris, orbital waste product that keeps on circulating in the low Earth orbit. It is dangerous because if it strikes a satellite or a capsule, it will get damaged. For example, Shenzhou 2. Shenzhou 2 mission in China was returning back to the planet from low Earth orbit. And one of the capsule window was struck by orbital debris. And what happened? A crack came. Yes, was dangerous. We can't face orbital and space debris too much. We must do something about it because of gravity, space debris keeps rotating in low Earth orbit. But majority of our satellites are also installed in low Earth orbit, and that's a danger. This article is talking about that only. What has happened? There was a debris, a piece of wreckage, very good Sumit, that came from payload fairing. It was an ISRO one. It was owned by India, ISRO. It had an ISRO logo on it. It was found in an uninhabited island in Maldives in February 2026. Where did it come from? People are saying it is coming from LVM-3 launch vehicle Mark 3. Possibly it was created, it fell off as a part of India's December 2025 LVM-3 M6 mission. A small part of wreckage fell down. It was found in Maldives. Very good. Kaiser syndrome. Shikha needs a clap for this. I have done it in detail in the video on orbital debris. How a chain reaction happens. Larger particles keep colliding with each other and smaller residues are constantly getting manufactured. And space wreckage is increasing day by day. And then what happened? As a part of a rocket payload, a part of waste fell down in Maldives. But this is not a one-off incident, Bache. In December 25, another wreckage piece was found in Sri Lanka also. ISRO has not officially issued a statement, but that is a very dangerous concept. Now, LMV-3 is one of the heaviest rockets ever developed by ISRO. What is LMV-3? LMV-3 is a 3-stage launch vehicle which has 2 solid and 1 liquid core stage engine, 1 cryogenic fuel-based upper stage, 4-stage rocket. Another thing is, it's a 3-stage launch vehicle with a mix of fuel, solid, liquid, cryogenic fuel that's being used for advanced stages. Now, why is it used? LVM-3 heaviest rocket, communication satellite, commercial satellite launch, the best, Gaganyaan. Human crewed space mission into the space, Gaganyaan. We will also use it for Gaganyaan. But previously, LMV-3 M6 in 25 had also launched another very important rocket. What's the name of that spacecraft satellite? Bluebird.